I love this painting. I think it's the most enigmatic, fascinating painting in all of art history. I'll try to explain why and go down a wonderful rabbit hole that reflects upon permanence and authorship. Goya painted El Perro, the dog, circa 1820, when he was around 75 years old, as a part of a series of paintings that he did on the walls of his home in La Quinta del Sordo, near Madrid. These paintings are known as the black paintings because of their subject matter, mood, and the formal manner in which they were painted. Goya didn't take any technical precautions when painting them on the walls, meaning that there was no prior preparation of the substrate before he painted them. You could argue that, in a sense, they are some of the quote-unquote purest paintings ever created, because they were executed with no specifications, no outside directions, and more importantly, no patron or audience in mind other than Goya himself. The series of black paintings was first exhibited to the public in 1878, 60 years after Goya's death. Even the title of this image, El Perro, was given by others because Goya didn't title the paintings. You can easily state then that the black paintings are exceptional examples of fundamentally personal, private paintings. Because these paintings were painted on dry plaster, they eventually started to peel off and the walls started to crack. At around 1873, the house was sold to a German-French banker. This is where my attempt at French is going to be awful, I apologize. Frédéric Émile Baron d'Erlanger. I take that back, I think that sounded awesome. And even though this sounds exaggerated, it is solely him that we have to thank for the present state of the black paintings that are exhibited at the Museo del Prado. The Baron decided, before demolishing the house, to have the paintings transferred to canvas using an Italian technique called Strappo, which literally means tearing the paintings off the wall and attaching them to a new backing. Click on the link in our video description below if you want to see a video explaining this wonderful technique. The Baron also contracted the services of photographer Jean Laurent to document the state of the paintings via wet plate collodion photography prior to their removal. We are very lucky to have a faithful record of what the paintings looked like in their original, albeit deteriorated state. Now, an amazing thing happens when we decide to compare the plate versus the final, heavily restored painting. The puzzling qualities that are present in the current state of the painting of the dog are, let's say, lessened when observing the original. The rock formation in the background, for example, is barely visible, and the two gestural brushstrokes, the flicks of paint that represent maybe a couple of birds, or a pair of butterflies, or falling leaves, they are now gone. You could initially think that these are ordinary edits, unessential to the image, but they are in fact of crucial significance. Having a rock formation in the background gives the image a more specific sense of place, and the presence of the two strokes provides the dog with an object to its gaze. In a broad sense, they give more context to the image. The arrangement of shapes becomes more purposeful. A dog, hidden amidst a rocky landscape, peeks behind a mound to look at the fluttering of two birds. But what happens when these details are omitted due to heavy restoration efforts? Firstly, there's no concrete sense of place. The landscape is now replaced by a vague, heavy, soupy yellow atmosphere. And secondly, the object of the dog's gaze is suddenly gone. We are now confused as to why the dog is poking its head, peering attentively to the side. Is it sticking its head out or sinking into the mound desperately trying to stay afloat? There are certainly more questions than answers now. This is one of the rare circumstances where we must ask ourselves, did the heavy, necessary restoration make the original image more memorable? Could that even be possible? To make a Goya, one of the greatest artists in all art history, better? We could argue that the retouching of the work was unavoidable. But the decision to omit the instances that are clearly visible in the photographic record of the original painting was a choice. We, as in the people that represent everyone that is not Goya, decided that it was better to not include these elements. Perhaps it was difficult to paint them at the time they were restored, but what has stopped us from doing so today? There's a perfectly reasonable argument for returning the painting to a state that is ostensibly more faithful than the current depiction of the image. But we have chosen not to do that. We have chosen to be consciously unfaithful to Goya. Why would we opt to undermine the decision that a genius artist made? Maybe the answer is painfully simple. Either by virtue or by ignorance, we stumbled upon an image that became timeless, legendary, and thankfully we've been astute enough to decide that we are not going to attempt, at least for the time being, to go back to something resembling its original state. I'm very curious as to the criteria behind being faithful to original depictions. When is a varnish too yellow that it needs to be cleaned? When is the lack of information so dense that it needs to be completed? Could you imagine the Sphinx with a nose? Or the winged Victory with a full body? Or the Belvedere torso and the Venus de Milo with limbs? All of them could be returned to their original nature, to a state that honors the creative intent behind their making, if we decided to mend them, to complete them. But perhaps we are wiser for not doing so. Maybe what this suggests is that there is something else that supersedes the many times undebatable monolithic idea of authorship and the notion of the original. Perhaps time, chance, and a glimpse at our human nature all work together in creating a more profound sense of unity despite loss. So it is possible that instead of thinking of art as something immutable, where we must fight with all our might to impose onto it a sense of irrefutable permanence, there is a chance that we can tap into something far more primal, more instinctual, should we choose to simply let things be. Maybe it's absurd to fight the eternal pulse of nature and its pull to transform, to age. Maybe we have to be okay with the idea that pieces of art, like us, can mutate and deteriorate. And if we just happen to be in the right place, at the right moment, with the right mindset, we will be given a chance to witness all the pieces falling perfectly in order so that a work of art that lies outside of time and space can be created. That's why Goya's dog is nothing short of a miracle. It defied all odds to become an image with no singular author. The greatest painting of all time was started by Goya, but finished by us.